Kaleb.
And I'm Laird.
Hey guys.
And we're from Santa Barbara Middle School Teen Press, and we're here with
SHAUN TOMSON.
How was growing up in Southern Africa different than growing up in Southern California?
Well, I don't know, because I didn't grow up in Southern California. No, I think it was very different to what you guys experienced. I grew up in a very different environment. I grew up in a segregated society because South Africa was under the apartheid regime, and apartheid is an Afrikaans word that means apartness. So South Africa was about 150 years behind America, because America became, that was what the Civil War was fought about in the 1860s. So South Africa was a long way behind that, and ultimately became a democracy only in 1994. So I grew up in a very different atmosphere. Blacks, whites, Indians, coloreds, everyone went to different schools, because that was the government's policy, to keep the races separate and apart. But luckily I started to travel at a very young age. The first trip I took overseas, I was just 14 years old, so I managed to see the world differently from a young age. To Hawaii, you're right, for my bar mitzvah present. So it was a great trip, and my parents were very liberal, forward thinkers, so we grew up realizing that there was something wrong with the system.
You first surfed pipeline when you were 15 years old, and if I was standing out at pipeline, I wouldn't even think of going out.
I'd feel sketched.
What were you thinking?
Well, I was scared as well, but I was a very motivated young guy, and I think I was a very disciplined young guy. I was a very good swimmer. I was one of the top swimmers at my school, so I knew that if I got into trouble out there, I would rely on my swimming skills to get me out of trouble. And I was very calculating and disciplined, so I knew that I wasn't going to take too many risks. I was always going to try to surf within my ability level. So while it was frightening, I looked at it as more of a challenge. And ultimately it took me a number of years before I felt comfortable out there. But through sort of a long process and spending a lot of time out there in the water and being fit and disciplined and ultimately confident, I managed to achieve success there.
How did surfing on the North Shore as a teenager impact your worldview?
Oh, it impacted my worldview considerably. I think at a young age, I realized how dangerous drugs were, because there was a lot of drugs in surfing, and a lot of young kids were getting involved in drugs, and one of the young kids that I was friendly with died of a drug overdose. So I realized at a young age, and my mom and dad also told me, that you got to stay away from drugs, you got to stay away from smoking. And luckily I did at a young age, because if I hadn't, maybe I'd have gone down that same path. So I learned really at a really young age, it's really easy just to say no. No matter what your friends want you to do or what other people want you to do, it's easy just to, inside yourself, just to say no. And you can still stay friendly with people. Obviously I didn't really like to hang around with druggies, yeah. But it's just easy, I think, just to say no. And you've got to be strong and within yourself, and just say no. If you think something is difficult and challenging, say no. So, that sort of shaped my view, is just you got to stay away from drugs. And also that Hawaii was just this amazing place, beautiful waves, beautiful weather, and it was like a melting pot of cultures. Everyone kind of got on. Japanese ancestry, Hawaiian ancestry, Filipino ancestry, Portuguese ancestry, American ancestry, a lot of cultures mixing together in sort of a peaceful way, and having all these surfers of all different nationalities from all over the world come together in a little 7-mile stretch for the same thing. You realize that there is a sameness and a commonality in people.
Could you describe to us what it's like to be in the tube at sunset?
Well, getting in the tube is the best thing in surfing, and it was sort of, during my career, I was lucky. I came to be known for riding inside the tube. I had developed a special technique for actually maneuvering inside of the tube, and it feels like you're inside your own private hurricane. You're inside this vortex of water, and it feels like it's moving in slow motion. that this wave is actually moving in slow motion. So you're in this incredibly like private place, moving very fast, but because you're moving so fast, it feels like you're moving slowly. It's kind of this sort of almost like this Einstein theory of relativity, that when you start moving really fast, reality starts slowing down. And so it's this amazing sensation of speed and slowness all at the same time. It's silent in there. I've never ever been conscious of the sound. And also you're sort of afraid and you exhilarated at the same time. To have those two emotions together, it's an amazing experience. And then also, it's like one of the only times in your whole life that you're completely alone. It's just you're bored in the wave. There's no friends bugging you, or no one sending you a text message. There's no one telling you what to do. It's just you and the wave. So you're very connected to nature. It's just this amazing sensation. And then sometimes these tubes go on, it seems like for so long, and you're in such great control of your board that you feel like you're controlling the wave. And that's when it's really amazing, when you actually feel like you're curving that wall to your will. And that's one of the most amazing experiences, I think, is when you have that moment and you think you're just the master of your own universe and the master of your own destiny.
I've never been in the tube, like a good tube. I've only gotten like washed out ones that weren't that fun. I can't wait.
Like anyone, even if you're not a good surfer, can get in the tube and experience what it's like. You can go for a body surf. Even today down here at the beach at Butterfly Beach here at the Biltmore, you could paddle out there and you could get a little body surf, and you could get that feeling of what it's like when that wave comes over you in your own little hurricane.